Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the AAS YouTube channel. And this one is the Sky and Telescope series. And I'm very happy to have the observing editor, Diana Hanna-Kanan, with us today. Hi, Diana.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy you're here. Where are you at? What's your geolocation?
I am currently working from home like so many other people, and I live outside of Boston in a nice little town called Sudbury,
Oh, yeah.
but our offices are in Cambridge,
When was the last
Cambridge,
time
Massachusetts.
When was the last time you were in the office?
I visited last week, in fact, to go and fetch something. But otherwise, I would say the last time we were all in the office was before lockdown, and that would have been March
March-ish.
13th of last year.
Wow. Yeah, we got to remember it's last year now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And since then, we've been working remotely.
Same here. I haven't been in my office at Arizona State since right about early March.
Right.
So yeah, it's all good. That is a really lovely image behind you. What is that?
Thank you. It is called, its official designation is IC2118. It is otherwise known as the Witch Head Nebula because it looks a little bit like a witch's head.
Dorothy.
Sorry?
Dorothy.
Yes, indeed. And it's a reflection nebula.
Awesome. That's a really pretty one. Very nice. So Diana, what do you do for Sky and Telescope?
As you mentioned at the start of this, I'm the observing editor. And the observing editor's job is to commission and edit observing articles for the magazine.
Okay.
And we feature, each month we feature a full-length observing article. And every second month we feature a column called Going Deep, which, as its name suggests, is it's also an observing article, but it probes a little deeper, a little farther, a little dimmer than the monthly observing articles. And we also have columns each month that it's my duty to edit and to make sure they go from manuscript to print ready. And you actually interviewed a couple of months ago, or a couple of weeks ago, you interviewed one of our columnists, Matt Waddell, who writes Binocular Highlight.
Yes, I did Matt's Caldwell turning 25 article.
That's right. He also, so some of our columnists, regular columnists, also write full-length feature articles for us.
And in fact, well, I don't know if it was spilling the beans because I haven't looked at the time schedule, but I just did Ken Hewitt-White as well.
Oh, yes.
So he has a regular column as well.
Correct. He started this year again. He's been a contributing editor for quite a long time for Sky and Telescope, and he just this year he picked up a regular column. I think it features once every 2 months.
So how do you decide? How do you pick articles on that? What's some of your secrets, some of your sources on how you decide what it is to do an article on?
I think the number one criterion is what's visible in the sky at night that month.
Okay.
And so, of course, the first thing that we have to make sure is that when we get submissions, that the objects that the author is proposing are visible in the sky during the month of publication of the issue.
Yes.
And we especially look for objects that are visible sort of in the evening, because even if we are all astronomers and we enjoy the nighttime a lot, very few people do stay up all night. And so most people are sort of like the after dinner hour when they like to go outside and see what's up. And so that's number one criteria. Number two is we have a very good bunch of contributing editors, and they've been writing for quite some time for Sky and Telescope, and many of them have like favorite objects, class of objects. Some are partial to planetary nebulae, some are partial to galaxies, some are partial to open clusters, and they like to pitch their favorite objects usually. And so what we like to do is try to come up with a bit of a mix of objects. And so that it's not just, we don't have repetition month after month.
Mhm.
And we also like to look for a range of instruments like that, so that there are some people who have smaller telescopes, some people who have larger telescopes, some people who prefer binoculars, some people who maybe don't want to use a telescope at all, and just want to look up. But for the most part, we try to look for a range of objects that will satisfy a really wide number of observers. And so that, if you have a smaller telescope, there are certain objects that you can look for if you have a larger one. That's what the Going Deep column is for. Those are for the people with the 28-inch and 32-inch behemoths.
Right.
But so that's what we look for, variety. We also have to think of pretty pictures because we want to be able to show that the universe is beautiful, and we want to be able to have lovely material to present. And some observers do their own imaging and they submit their own photos. Some observers like to sketch. So we have one of the contributing editors, Howard Banich. In fact, I worked on one of his pieces last month. He, ever since he was a very young observer, he likes to sketch what he sees at the eyepiece, which is the way astronomers recorded their observations before photographic plates and before all of that.
Yeah.
And so some of our contributing editors like to do that. So it's a whole big range of techniques and instrumentation and targets.
Yeah, I imagine one person who submits their own photographs, I'm sure, because I just interviewed them, was Adam Block, just did a set. And so I'm pretty sure he submits his own photos.
He does indeed. And in fact, he works with our astrophotography editor primarily. And I have used some of Adam's photos as well in some of the pieces. And then I myself, every month I write the Sky at a Glance column, which is sort of there's the central section of our magazine where we have the central star chart. And the page that kicks off the observing section, let's say, of the magazine is called Sky at a Glance. And that is just a summary of unaided eye things that you can see, in fact. So for the Sky at a Glance column, I think of things that, like, is the moon going to be close to a planet during a specific evening or series of evenings? Are there planets rising or setting at certain times? Are there meteor showers that you should bundle up to go outside and watch and everything? And so that's for people who want to use no instrumentation whatsoever. Yep.
Like watching a great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, for example.
For example, wasn't that a lovely event?
That's a good one.
I hope it was clear for you. Was it clear on the night of the 21st of December? Well, you live in Phoenix, right?
Yeah, it was clear, and I was actually watching a little bit before and then a little bit after, so you can watch it as it comes and goes. So it was pretty nice. So I just did naked eye on that one. It was pretty cool. Very cool. So on average, and I understand there's probably variance, does it take to go from the idea of doing an article to actually publication? Is that a 1 month process, a 6 month process? Roughly how long does that take?
You mean from when we get a manuscript to when it's ready for, or do you mean for somebody to write?
From when the idea pops into the head to let's do an article on the reflection nebula, the Witch's reflection nebula.
The Witch Head Nebula, okay.
So if somebody pitched that idea, how long before it then becomes a real article?
We tend to work about 4 months in advance of the publication date. And so they would have to have the manuscript ready more than 4 months in advance so that it gives us time to work on it in office. And to prep, we need to prep the finder charts. Our job as editors is to get the finder charts ready, to get the artwork ready, to get tables of data ready, and then of course do all the fact checking and then just basic editing for our style and so on. What we tend to do with the observing department, because we are tied to the specific month for what targets and what objects we want to feature, we generally send out a call for submissions about a year ahead of time. And
Ooh,
so I've just done that with my authors, with the contributing editors and new authors. And just before the turn of the year, was it sometime mid-December, I think I sent out a call and said, start thinking about 2022.
mhm.
2021 is already scheduled. So I sent out a call for 2022 to ask them to start pondering, because if I want to start scheduling something for January 2022, they kind of have to know what they're going to observe now. Some
Yeah.
authors have manuscripts ready because they've been working on things for such a long time. So
Mhm.
some authors have plenty of material that they're just waiting to boom, 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 sort of get into manuscript format and send. And other authors instead, either they prefer to work step by step, or because they've gotten new ideas, they actually do the observing, let's say tonight, and then they will record what their instrumentation was, what the sky conditions were, what they see at different magnifications, and then they'll write it all up, and then they'll send me the manuscript later.
So do
So
you take unsolicited manuscripts?
we do.
Okay.
We do.
So Sky and Tell readers, there you go.
Yes.
Not that I want to deluge you with manuscripts, but
But we do, and we love getting new
it's not
authors.
some secret club that you have to be initiated.
No,
You
no,
can
no.
submit a manuscript.
Absolutely. We have all the instructions on our website on how to submit a manuscript to
Oh,
us. And
we will put that in the link down below the video for people who are interested. So that's
perfect, perfect. In fact, I'm working on a manuscript by a new author just this month.
great.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about that.
Cool. So when did you start working for S&T, Sky and Tell?
About 3.5 years ago. It was August 2017.
Ooh, got the date.
Yeah, it's firmly imprinted in my mind. It's 2018, 29, that's 3.5 years, isn't it? Yeah, approximately. Yes,
Having fun?
I am indeed.
Cool.
It's very different to what I was doing before, because I have a PhD in high energy astrophysics, and I was in research and academia before. I was working on primarily radio and X-ray observations and analyses of microquasars.
Okay.
And then we moved to Florida for family reasons, personal reasons. And I kind of drifted a little bit away from academia research. And then I realized I had to kind of get serious again about life. And there was, I noticed an ad for an editorial position at Sky and Tell, and I thought, gosh, the other thing that I've always wanted to do in life, or would have loved to have done, would be get involved in science writing and publication and science publishing. And I was incredibly grateful when they called me for an interview and then offered me the job. So to go back to your previous question, yes, I'm having fun.
Great. That is awesome. Very good. So how many roughly articles at any given time how many balls do you have in the air when you're juggling to have in the air?
I tend to work on one observing feature at a time, so per month. It's pretty clear cut, so I have the observing feature per month. I tend to work on that. Every second month we have Going Deep. And so months that we have Going Deep, I'll be working on, so it's an article and a half. Going Deep is about 3 pages long, whereas the observing features are around 6 pages long.
Mm-hmm.
And then I write Sky at a Glance, and I edit Binocular Highlights. So that's sort of per month. And then we just debuted a new column in the January 2021 issue, which is the Pro-Am conjunction, Pro-Am collaboration projects. And I'm writing that as well for now, until maybe we develop it further in the years to come to maybe solicit full-length articles. But for now, I'm writing that. And then there are, of course, the second edits that we have to do. So every editor does a first edit, and then they pass it for double checking to another editor.
Mm-hmm.
And I work most closely with Gary Saronic, who's he takes care of the other part of the observing, let's say. So he writes Sun, Moon, and Planets, and he edits the history articles and so on. And so I get those for second edits, which is great because I get to read all this fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we have to be on call for anything else that might, pop up. If somebody needs at the last minute an edit for this or that. And another thing we do, we also publish the Sky and Telescope observing calendar. So we're about to get going on that.
Cool.
And Gary and I are, we pick all the events that will happen for all of 2022. So we look at conjunctions, moon phases, again, meteor showers, lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, all of that. And we work with our designer on the observing calendar.
Yep. It's beautiful. I've seen.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a fun project. And then, of course, between Gary and I, we have to generate all of the charts and the diagrams for the central star charts that's in the magazine. And so we have to make sure that the planets are in the right place and the moon is in the right place and the Milky Way is at the right angle. And then we do the victograms, which is among my favorite bits in the magazine. Those are those horizon scenes. Where it just shows you at a glance on a specific date or a short range of dates where the moon is, you know, where the planets are, and it's sort of color coded for time of if it's only shortly after sunset or if it's shortly before sunrise or if it's in the middle of the night and so. And I love the victograms, and they're very much a Sky and Telescope trademark.
Yep. Yep.
So we have to generate all of those and then all the ecliptic all of these things. And so it's a lot of fun because we get to play with lots of numbers and things like that.
Awesome. Awesome. 2 questions popped in my head as you were going there. How many editors total does Sky and Telescope have? 6?
We are currently 5 full-time editors.
Okay. Okay. And then you have contributing editors.
We have contributing editors. We have an editorial assistant.
Okay.
We have a webmaster, and we have our illustrator and our designer. And so that's pretty much, and then of course, editor-in-chief, but that's pretty much the staff.
Okay, thanks. Second item that popped in my head. I think I know the answer, but I'll just ask it anyway. Do you do Southern Hemisphere stuff?
We used to.
Or what is, I guess another way to ask it is, and you don't need to give away any secrets here. You know, what fraction of Sky and Telescope readers are Southern Hemisphere?
This is an ongoing discussion. When the editorial staff of Sky and Telescope was a lot bigger, they definitely covered a lot more Southern Hemisphere material, including in the monthly issue, there would be a Southern Hemisphere star chart. Currently, we only have a Northern Hemisphere star chart in our monthly issues.
Right.
So once upon a time, there was a Southern Hemisphere star chart, and they would dip a lot more into what was going on. But that was when there was an editorial staff of, I don't know, 10s, 20.
Wow.
It was huge once upon a time. And so now we don't, simply because of lack of resources, not because we don't want to, but there is Australian Sky and Telescope. And so they take some of our material. They often republish, you know, some of our articles and some of our columns, but that is directed at Southern Hemisphere observers.
Okay.
And from time to time, I have worked with observing authors, contributing editors who have been to Chile or Australia or South Africa on either cruises, or they've been chasing eclipses, or because they have collaborators, or because they just love the Southern Hemisphere skies. They go down there, they spend some time there, and then they write up articles on Southern Hemisphere objects. So I have included them if they will also sort of like stretch into the Northern Hemisphere a little bit.
There we go.
Just because we only have that one article per month for now. So I want to make sure we cover as much as possible. We also decided to include some Southern Hemisphere stuff in the last couple of years because there were several eclipses that happened down in Chile. One was last summer, one was last December, that of course was canceled for COVID, but we were figuring that since there are so many people who are eclipse chasers, maybe if they go down there, they might want to do a bit of observing while they're there. So we did include some Southern Hemisphere stuff.
Okay.
to be able to expand more, but we're just limited by resources.
Mhm. Well, maybe over the next couple of years, now that Sky and Tel is part of the AAS, and once some of the travel restrictions come off on COVID, maybe there'll be a opportunity for expansion.
That would be lovely.
Regular Southern
That would be
Hemisphere.
lovely.
That would
Yeah.
be very cool. Um, so let me go back to people who would be interested, perhaps unsolicited, on submitting an article to Sky and Tel, or an idea for an article to Sky and Tel. So what do you think makes for a good, solid initial submission?
It should be as complete as possible, which is kind of self-evident, but we look for quality of description of the instrumentation, the setup, the observations, the conditions during which the observations were undertaken. So that's all quite important, like the technical side. And we also look for maybe a bit of a story. So it doesn't have to be sort of beginning, middle, end, but a little bit of history thrown in, a little bit of science thrown in to just sort of round out the context within which the observations are undertaken.
Mhm.
It's not necessary, but readers find it interesting to read a little bit about the history of some of the discoveries of, if we're looking at a particular cluster, like who first observed it and what did they think when they first observed it, and things like that. I'm talking about the 300 years ago and so
Yeah,
on.
sure.
I think just attention to detail is very important,
Okay.
because we want to make sure that we can describe as comprehensively as possible. The idea with these observing articles is that it's not just to relate what the observer has done and show beautiful images and lovely sketches and everything, but it's so that other people can replicate these observations. That's the whole point. And so that clarity is really important, so that readers can say, oh, that's really interesting. So what do I need to be able to observe this? Is my 4-inch refractor enough, or do I have to go to a star party and hang out with the 32-inch guys, sort of thing. So that's attention to detail, and just clarity in describing how to look for what you're looking for.
Cool.
There are techniques such as star hopping, which is, of course, very, very important for the fainter objects. And so you find the brighter objects in your field of view. And if you can describe how to get to the fainter object by saying, oh, you go from that bright star to that bright thing, and then halfway between you will see your objects. So yeah.
All right, so future authors, potential authors, there you go. There's some tips and tricks to having a good initial submission.
I think my main bit of advice there is just to read Sky and just read Sky and Telescope, see how others have done it.
Correct.
Take it from here.
Correct.
Yes.
You want to be in Rome, do as the Romans. So
exactly.
you get the Romans of writing before you try and write like a Roman.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Diana, is there anything else you'd like to share about the Sky and Tel or Sky and Telescope editors? Any final thoughts there?
I would say that I think each one of us, we all love our jobs very much. It's very challenging, but every day is different. And I think we all feel very lucky that this is what we do every day. And I think that's a sentiment that's shared by I don't want to speak for anybody else on staff, but I think it's a sentiment that's shared. I certainly feel it, that each day is different. And how exciting is it just to come sit at your desk and you have a picture of the moon, on your screen, and that's what you have to be working on that day. So it's or pull up the coordinates for some distant galaxy or something. It's very rewarding. It's hard, it's challenging, but it's very rewarding. And it's lovely to work, not just with the staff of Sky and Telescope, but now also all the staff of the AAS. It's lovely that we're all in this together, and especially working with our authors who who work so hard to help us bring this magazine to the newsstand every month.
Awesome. Awesome. I got one final thing. So during the AAS meetings, do you work in the Sky and Tell booth, exhibitors booth?
Yes.
Cool. So potential future authors, if you would like to talk to Diana in person, well, probably online for the upcoming summer meeting. But if you would like to go ahead and reach out to Diana online during a AAS meeting or in person when we get back to that point, go ahead and feel free to reach out at her at the AAS booth. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Diana, so much for your time this afternoon and chatting about the observing editorial aspects of Sky and Tell.
Thank you very much, Frank. This was lovely.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We'll see you, everyone. Bye-bye.